Might Guy and Maki Zenin are the apex brawlers in their respective verses, foregoing chakra and cursed energy to reach the pinnacle of physicality and be able to throw hands against literal gods. So placing them against one another seems like a great idea. Hands versus hands. That's until you realize how badly Might Guy dog walks Maki if we take pure power scaling into consideration. At the absolute minimum, Might Guy in base reaches speeds of massively hypersonic plus, while Maki, with her completed heavenly restriction, reaches at most high hypersonic, but is likely far lower around subsonic plus. If we put Maki against Guy with that many tiers of speed difference in mind, every single Maki simp would beat me over in the comments until I accepted her as my savior and begged at her feet for forgiveness. Because Might Guy in base, blindfolded, and put in a medically induced coma would toss her into the upper atmosphere with negative diff. She gets tossed so badly that I couldn't even stretch this video to 10 minutes for that sweet YouTube ad revenue. So thanks for that, Gege. So what we'll do instead is look at their relative feats, abilities, and training, and see if we can find any semblance of a fair fight somewhere in this absolute violation. And as for their scaling difference, well, you'll just have to stick around and see, because I may have found something to bridge their gap without smoothing out our collective brains too much. Might Guy has been training to the peak of human possibility and even beyond that for as long as the series has gone on. To say that he's the pinnacle of physicality in the Naruto verse is beyond an understatement. Honestly, it's hard to find a character in any verse that captures the hard work mentality more than Guy, and the results speak for themselves. But not only that, he has honed his taijutsu to the point that Jubi Madara, the pound for pound most skilled, well-rounded shinobi the Naruto verse has ever seen, declared that there is no one who surpasses Guy at taijutsu. That's the equivalent of Batman calling someone a genius detective. Meanwhile, Maki was pretty unremarkable prior to her awakening, and even then required Mio, the sumo guy, to effectively take her into the hyperbolic sumo time chamber and unlock her potential. Honestly, Sumo Guy is kind of the GOAT. He was basically Kami and Guru all wrapped up in a sumo loincloth. For our viewing pleasure, I won't Photoshop Guru into our loincloth. Psych! With her training and every advantage at her disposal, Maki was able to consistently land blows on Heian form Sukuna, who would be at least Madara's equivalent in the JJK verse. And as much as I'd like to downplay that, the fact that a character without cursed energy can even stand anywhere near the King of Curses himself is incredibly impressive. That said, the edge in pure hand-to-hand skill has to go to Guy, who would have something like 20 plus years of hardcore taijutsu training under his belt. And the fact that he participated in 2 great shinobi wars really does a lot to spell out the differences here. That kind of real battle experience is invaluable and cannot be understated. Meanwhile, Maki has only just accessed her full potential with only like a month or so to train with those skills. She fought Naoya and Sukuna since her bout with Mio, so it's really difficult to say that she has gained absolute mastery of her new powers in that short time. While Guy has had literal decades to hone his craft and even shepherd in the new generation. Next, let's talk about their abilities. Maki is really easy since she literally has none. Her sole specialty is close quarters combat and weapon use, so we'll talk about her weapons here. She has the Playful Cloud, which is effectively an amp based on the physical strength of the user. She also has the Dragon Bone and Soul Split katanas. The Dragon Bone accumulates force and cursed energy and ejects it out the back, providing the user with an increase in their destructive force. And the Soul Split katana cuts straight through any physical durability and strikes at the target's soul. Her armory is fairly unique and provides her with some offensive options. Unfortunately, she doesn't really have that many impressive feats to her name with these swords, like slicing a mountain in half. Because that's what Naruto characters are capable of, and it'd really help her out here. Might Guy, on the other hand, is really identified by his mastery of the 8 gates. Effectively, they are a stacking multiplier like the Kaioken.
Kaioken! It's in my fucking name!
At the 6th gate, he unlocks Asukujaku, which is just a series of countless punches, but they're so fast that they ignite the air around them. At the 7th gate, he gains use of Hiradora, which is my favorite technique in the Naruto series. Daytime Tiger is effectively a gigantic air cannon in the shape of a tiger's head. Not only does this have the destructive force to knock back Jubi Madara, but was large enough to dwarf the island turtle. Finally, at the 8th gate, he gains the ability to use Sekizo and Night Guy. Sekizo takes the uncompressed cannon that is Hiradora and takes it to the next level. Effectively, Guy launches 5 consecutive air cannons with a destructive power so great that they not only tunneled Jubi Madara into the ground, but shattered his Truth Seeker Orb defenses. And Night Guy is, well... These two are really just punch monkeys that throw hands at everything in sight. But again, we see a difference in scale of ability between these two when looking at Guy's Gates techniques. Now let's move to the battle. The fight begins and immediately we have to address the elephant in the room. How the hell Maki possibly stands up with the speed difference between them. Even if we equalize their stats, as soon as Guy opens up even the first of the 8 gates, which is said to release the mental inhibitors on an individual, allowing them to access 100% of their physical potential, he'd outpace Maki immediately. right? Well, as we mentioned earlier, Mio unlocked her potential and awakened Maki, releasing her mental inhibitors that came with her insecurities about not being an adequate sorcerer. After this, her sense of freedom was coupled with an insane spike of power that could be equated to the activation of the first gate. But if we look one step further, and I promise you, I know that this is a reach, but there is a payoff, so please stick around. Guy and Maki are both characters that uniquely are able to kick off the air. And if we take Naruto's logic in mind with how this feat was accomplished, utilizing pure physical might to do so, then these two characters would have feats that match one another at their absolute pinnacles. Through that speculative reach, we can at least equate their stats with Maki's awakened, complete heavenly restriction to Guy's 8th gate, and see how that battle could possibly go. Otherwise, this fight, even with equal stats, is over in no time at all. Guy activates the 7th gate and vaporizes Maki before she can even react from an island's distance away with Hiradora. If that's the level of speculation that you're comfortable with, fine. That's absolutely how it would go, unless we take this reaching route. And honestly, that battle is incredibly boring because there's no world where Maki doesn't get violated immediately. So if that's what you came to hear, no problem. But if you can suspend your disbelief for just a moment, I feel like we can speculate more broadly and discuss a wider range of possibilities for every matchup, and to me, that's just more fun. So the fight begins, Guy activates the 8th gate and puts himself on the death timer. He needs to beat Maki before he runs out of time and burns himself to a crisp. So the question is, can he do it? Yeah, obviously. Didn't you see the title? Not only are Maki's weapons mostly useless, given that Guy isn't a durability tank that needs the soul split katana to get through, his overwhelming skill difference in taijutsu puts him squarely into a region where I genuinely believe that he can disarm her before the Playful Cloud or Dragon Bone could be of any real assistance, not to say that they really would be anyway. Even if Maki matches Guy in raw power and speed, his abilities make all the difference here. Jubi Madara, a shinobi with access to Rinnegan, Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Wood Style, Fire Style, Limbo, and Storm Release, was completely overwhelmed by the sheer destructive power of Hiradora, Sekizo, and Night Guy. And let me tell you, Maki is no Madara Uchiha, and unlike Sukuna or Madara, Maki doesn't really have the hacks of Hashirama Cells or Reverse Curse technique to heal the damage that Might Guy is definitely going to inflict. The only reason Jubi Madara survived Night Guy was due to his incredibly cracked durability and his healing hacks that came with being the Jinchuriki of the Ten-Tails. There's literally nothing to compare this level of power to in the JJK verse. So the moment she's dealt debilitating damage through any of Guy's massive techniques, she's going to be immediately and permanently on the back foot for the rest of the battle with no means of coming back from it. But does she have anything to outlast Guy's onslaught of nukes? Well, her only saving grace would be to give her Toji's inverted Spear of Heaven and pray that unlike Kisami's Great Shark Bullet, it could negate the use of Guy's techniques, even though they are just feats of physics-breaking strength and skill. But at that point, we might as well give her the Sharingan, a stand, Super Saiyan, and a bag of Senzu beans. I've even seen people argue that she has some form of precognition, even at a low level. Would that allow her to evade Guy until he burns out? Nope, not even close. The Sharingan exists, and is the poster child for precognition abilities in all of anime. And much stronger, more skilled characters with the Sharingan had no chance at matching his taijutsu. There's just no world where she wins. Even if we craft the most ridiculous scenario to give her an edge, she's still completely obliterated by the insane scaling of the Naruto verse. So to conclude, yeah, 100 times out of 100, Maki loses spectacularly against Bushibrow Sensei Might Guy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please do the YouTube stuff, it really helps. Peace.